Assalamualaikum and welcome student in class 8. I am Miss Samina Feroz, your computer science teacher, and also welcome to all of you in this online system of classes. So first note it down the syllabus of the first term. In the first term we will cover 3 chapters. Chapter number 1 Generation of Computer, chapter number 2 Computer Languages, and chapter number 3 World Wide Web. Now student, we started our first chapter, Generation of Computer. But before discuss the generation of computer, first we briefly discuss history of computer, which help us to understand the significant trends in the field of computer, and it also help to understand that where we were and where we are today, and how the technologies has improved by generation to generation. History of computer is divided into 3 ages: Dark Age, Middle Age, and Modern Age. First, Dark Age. Why we name it Dark Age? The reason behind it that all the mechanism of work was manual. Manual means done by hand, such as abacus, Napier bone, pescline. All these devices were used for calculation purpose, and all these calculations had been done by manually, and they use addition, subtraction, and multiplication. Other two devices, difference engine and analytical engine, was designed by Charles Babbage, who also known as the father of computer. Why we called him father of computer? Because through these devices he gave the concept of true computer. The second age of computer is Middle Age, in which all the invented devices were electromechanical devices, means the devices which use electric motor and some switches and relays. The best example of electromechanical device is punch card tabulating machine, which was invented by Dr. Hermann Hollerith. Other example of Middle Age is ABC computer, which was invented by Atanasoff and Berry, and it was first electronic digital computer. The modern age. The modern age is known as the age of information technology. In this age, all the devices are based on electronic component. This age started with the computer Mark I, which was invented by Harvard University staff. The history of electronic computer or modern age is divided into 5 generations. First generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, and fifth generation. As you see in the slide, generation to generation, the new technologies were used, as well as the performance and the application of computer were improved. Let's start discussion on the features of the first generation of the computer. The first feature is its period. 1946 to 1959 is the period of the first generation of the computer. The devices used during this period use vacuum tube. Vacuum tube is an electronic component of this generation. A vacuum tube contains electrodes for controlling electronic flow. Vacuum tubes are very large in size and they generate so much heat. As you know, student, speed is the most important feature of the computer. These computers were the fastest calculating device of their time. Computation were performed in milliseconds. For input data use punch card and paper tape, and for output paper was used. In first generation, to perform the operation, machine language was used, and they could solve only one problem at a time. And to store the data into the computer, magnetic drum used as a main memory. Now student, we discuss some disadvantages of the first generation of the computer. The first generation computers are very big in size due to the vacuum tube. Thousands of vacuum tube were used in one computer. That's why the size of computer was very big and its weight about 30 tons. Other disadvantage of this computer is that the commercial production of these computer was difficult and the price of these computer is very high. Next disadvantages of this generation is that these computers consume large amount of energy, and due to use of the thousands of vacuum tube in a computer, and it also required continuous maintenance. The computer which were invented in these generations are: number one is ENIAC, electronic numerical integrated automatic computer, was invented in 1946 and occupy the 1800 square feet room and use 19,000 vacuum tube, and its weight was almost 50 tons. Second example of the first generation of computer is EDVEC. EDVEC means electronic discrete variable automatic computer. It was designed to be stored program computer. Some other examples of the first generation of computers are UNIVAC, Universal Automatic Computer, UNIV, Universal, A for automatic and C for computer. It was first general purpose electronic digital computer and designed for the different business application. Next example is IBM 650. It was also produced by IBM International Business Machine, and it was magnetic drum processing machine. The next example of the first generation computer is the IBM 650. As the name showed that it was also produced by the IBM, and it was the magnetic drum data processing machine. Now the second generation. The main feature of second generations are 1959 to 1965 is a period of second generation of computer. Second generation computers were based on transistors instead of vacuum tube. Transistor is a semiconductor device used in all the computers which were invented during 1959 to 1965. You can see the picture of the transistor and the circuit board on the slide. Circuit board filled with the many transistors. Second generation computers were more faster than the first generation of the computer. They calculate data or operate the operation in a microsecond. Still, punch card was used to input the data and paper was used for printed, and the language which we use for programming in was assembly language. Disadvantages and limitation of the second generation of computer was that they still required cooling system to maintain their operation, and constant maintenance was required. These computers are used for specific purpose. Now I give you the name of the devices used in the second generation of computer. Number one is Honeywell 400. It was general purpose computer and invented by the firm Honeywell. Second example is IBM 7094. It was second generation transistor version of earlier IBM 709 and designed for large scale scientific and technological application. Other example of second generation of computers are CDC 1604. CDC mean Control Data Corporation. CDC 1604 was a 48 bits computer design and manufactured by Seymour and his team. Fourth example is CDC 3600. It was 48-bit words of magnetic core memory and supported a Fortran compiler. Fifth one, UNIVAC 1108 was the first multiprocessor machine in the series capable of expansion to 3 CPU. So these computers are the famous computer of second generation of computer. Now, review of today's lecture. Today we have completed ages of computer, modern age. In modern age we completed two generation, first generation and second generation. Student, I hope you have listened the lecture very carefully and you are able to answer these questions. Question number 1. Write the reason why the size of first generation computers were huge. The second question, write the main features of first and second generation. Question number 3, write the full form of ENIAC, EDVAC, UNIVAC, IBM and CDC. Okay students, see you soon. Allah Hafiz.